Good afternoon. Welcome in to the Boulevard Brewing Company post-game drink. I'm Gabe DeArmond, PowerMizzou.com publisher, and there it is in all its glory on the top, across the top of your screen. Tennessee 62, Missouri 24, and it honestly wasn't that close. Josh Heupel could have scored as many points as he wanted to score in this game. The record against Missouri is 77 points and 750 yards, both of which were put up by Oklahoma in 1986 in a game that is called the Norman Conquest in Mizzou history. If Tennessee wanted to top those numbers, it absolutely could have happened today. Make no mistake. The only reason it didn't was because Tennessee basically shut it down a drive into the second half at the latest. This is up there with the worst performances legitimately in Missouri school history. It's in the discussion with 77-0, with 73-0 to A&M, with 66-0 to Kansas State, with 35-3 to Purdue. That's the short list. There were a couple Miami games in there, some Nebraska games, but it's on the short list. There's no question. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, I do want to tell you guys that this show is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's finest, without question. All kinds of great products. They have obviously great beers, Tank 7, Space Camper are the ones I like, but they have all kinds of good beers. They have the Fling cocktails. They have the Quark seltzers that we encourage you to try out. You can get them at grocery stores, bars, across the country, really. Certainly anywhere you want to in the Midwest. So we encourage you guys to try out any of Boulevard's products. I'm going to be honest. I hope you have some sitting around the house, and I hope you broke into them already, because I don't know, if you weren't getting paid to do so, how you watched that entire game. What we're going to do here, I'm going to go through just the basics of kind of some of the numbers and show you how absolutely awful it was. And then we're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to leave it up to you guys. This is either going to be the busiest, longest post-game show we've done in 2 years, or it's going to be the shortest and it's going to be completely dead. I don't really know which one. There's not really going to be in between. Either everybody is furiously pissed off and wants to talk about it, or everybody quit watching this game at halftime and they're out mowing their yard and raking leaves right now. And whichever way it goes is fine, but I'm not going to sit here and break this down and preach for the next 2 hours just to take up time. We're going to take your comments. We're going to take your calls. However long that goes, it goes. I will say off the bat, nothing you can say is too harsh today. Nothing is off limits. That is 100% one of the 5 to 10 worst performances that I can remember in the history of Missouri football, and I've seen a lot of Missouri football. So let's just run through the quick stats, and then I've got the box score for you guys to look at. Total offense, again, 677 for Tennessee, 396 for Mizzou. Total play is pretty close. Missouri competed in that regard, so, that's something. Rushing yards, 452 to 74. Missouri came in as the second worst rushing defense in the country. Unless Ohio gives up approximately 403 yards rushing today to Akron, Missouri will have the worst run defense in FBS football next week. Maybe in organized football, to be quite honest. Passing yardage, Missouri won that because I'm not sure Tennessee threw a pass in the second half. They probably threw a few. I'm going to be honest, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention in the second half. Tennessee only threw for 225 yards. I don't really know that they had to throw for that many, to be quite honest. A little further detail for you here. We can talk some about this. I've got no idea why in that game Tyler Beatty gets 24 touches and is still on the field in the fourth quarter. You're going to need this guy later in the season. Theoretically, I don't know what we're doing here. How many carries? Elijah Young had 3 carries. B.J. Harris had 1. Dawson Downing had 1. Michael Cox, who gets praised every week, didn't even see the field. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know if Eli Drinkwitz wants Tyler Beatty to be able to play in Week 10 or not. But that's the craziest part of that game to me was that you got Brady Cook 0 snaps. You got Tyler Macon 0 snaps. Maybe you're telling your starters, hey, you deserve to be out there and wear this, but I don't know why we aren't seeing some other guys on the offensive line, at running back, at quarterback. I'm not sure what we're doing here in that regard. Missouri had 9 penalties for 96 yards. You can complain all you want about the holding calls not being right, but not all the calls were wrong, guys. 9 penalties for 96 yards. At one point, they had more penalties than they had offensive plays. All right, more penalties than points. They had 4 holding penalties and 3 points. Tennessee was 6 for 10 on third down, which is a little bit misleading. With 2 minutes left in the first half, they'd only faced 1 third down. Tennessee had 11 drives. They scored on 10 of them. The other one was stopped inside the 1-yard line, and I'm going to be honest, it wasn't really stopped. Tennessee scored on that play. They reviewed it and somehow said they didn't, but whatever. Tennessee scored on that play. This was, again, there is nothing you can say, guys, that is over the top. I'm going to ask that you try to keep it clean. I would like it to be, a little bit G-rated. Don't be too over the top here. PG rated. Let's go PG rated. I'm not asking it to be G rated, just PG rated. But whatever you think, I'm not really going to disagree with you. If you want to talk about who should be fired and all that, I'm up for that because that's fair game today. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and go on and on. I'm going to open up the phone lines for you guys now. Let me make sure I've got Skype open. The phone number is there on the screen. It's 573-234-4935. You guys are welcome to call in. Again, I ask you 2 things when you call in. First of all, whatever you're listening or watching the show on, please turn the volume down on that. If the volume is on your computer and you call in, it's going to cause all sorts of problems for us. Second, I'm going to call out your area code. I just want you to hang on and wait until you hear your area code because sometimes we get 5, 6, 7 calls piled up here, so I need you to wait. So we're going to start in the 832 area code. Who am I talking to in the 832?
Hello?
Yeah. Who am I talking to?
This is Dave from Chicago.
What's up, Dave? How you doing, man?
Hey, doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind?
Oh, man, where do I start? Honestly, what do you take from this? Seriously. I'm just surprised that I'm sitting here in October and now Conto Martin is the best coach at the University of Missouri. It's incredible to me.
I think you take from it that some of the Eli Drinkwitz things, the lifetime contracts, the give him anything he wants, all that was certainly a little premature. You don't bury the program. You don't say he can't get it done, all that. But, this is a reality check. And I'll be honest, I've got my post-game column written. All the, hey, complaining about fans showing up, the talk about the talent not being good enough, all that goes out the window. The honeymoon's over as of today because nothing about
I ended the honeymoon last Saturday. I don't know what the fuck, we're getting with that. That honeymoon ended against the Boston College.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know where we go from here. I truly don't know where we go from here.
My guess would be not to a bowl game this year, certainly.
You're fired up. The season's on the line. I don't get it. I don't understand. You have a whole, month to fix the run game.
Yeah, defensively, it is absolutely. It was dreadful. I don't know what the answers are. It was dreadful.
Yeah,
defensively.
I'm with you.
So, yeah, look. I don't have answers. I'll be interested to see what Drinkwitz says after the game. But I think where you go this year is hoping you can find some way to scrape to 6-6, which I understand. I'm not saying is going to happen. but hoping you can, and that
realistically, I mean, you get North Texas, you get Vandy.
Right.
I don't see another win on the schedule. Do you?
If they play the way they played today, absolutely not. South Carolina is, it's gettable. South Carolina's not really good, but
I mean, after this, are we good?
No. Missouri's not good either. If they play like they did today, they're a 4-8 team. But the hope is that you find something and you get to 6-6 and you salvage this recruiting class. To be quite honest,
I'm with you. I think you get to. When do you fire Wilkes? Do we give him another? Does he get? I mean, my gosh, you lose to North Texas. I mean, the floodgates are open.
Oh, I mean, you lose that game and you look anything like that, like today, I think yes, but like it's on the table.
The Wilkes firing on the table now. I think. I mean, I put it on the table after Boston College, but
I think it's on the table.
What's that?
I think it's on the table. I don't know that he'll do it.
Has to be.
But I think it's on the table. And the reason I don't know if he does it, because if you fire the defensive coordinator that you went at, like last year, everybody could say, well, Walters isn't his guy. That can't be said this year. This is 100% on Drinkwitz. Right. He fires Steve Wilkes. He's putting himself on the chopping block next. And I'm not saying Eli's going to get fired, but you get my point. This is his guy.
I get your point.
It's
his guy. And you know what? It's unfortunate because for the first time, he hired his guy and he failed. So I'm nervous. What does this say about Drinkwitz moving forward?
Yep.
Arkansas is excelling with Pittman. Ole Miss is number 12 in the country. These are teams that we routinely whip their ass. And here we are getting 60 points on us by Tennessee. I mean, we're watching teams that we should be, on par with in the conference excel.
Tennessee, who, by the way, is in their first year under a new head coach who used to coach here. Like that.
There you go. I mean, you're just making my point. Exactly. Yep. Tennessee, first-year head coach. Drinkwitz had a year. Granted, last year was rough. I mean, that was COVID.
Yep.
5-5 was fantastic. But you know what? We saw signs of this at the end last year when a Mississippi State team, quite frankly, that was dog shit, hung 55 on us. I mean, there's
no question.
I don't know where we go from here, man.
I agree with you, Dave.
But I'm going to go hit the Chicago nightlife. Everything's good.
All right.
Appreciate the time.
Enjoy it, man. Appreciate the call.
MIZ forever, baby.
There you go. Thanks.
And roll tide.
Thanks for starting it off, Dave. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I got a lot of people on hold. I'm going to the 573 area code. There are 3 of you. So if the last 2 digits of your phone number are 43, you're up in the 573 area code. Hope you followed all that. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe, it's Justin Ferguson. How you doing, man?
What's up, Justin? How are you, man? Hey, at least you're sober. I know that. You didn't have to drink much today.
Well, I just kind of started in the second half just starting to take Jaeger bomb shots just to try to help me forget what the hell I just watched on TV because it was just that awful.
Yeah.
I mean, I have almost no words, Gabe. I mean, that was obviously the worst performance, one of the worst performing Mizzou teams that I've seen ever. And Eli Drinkwitz is going to have to do a lot of soul searching because on the defense side of the ball, I mean, it's not just guys are in pad position, but nobody's tackling. People are getting pushed off the ball. I mean, the talent's not that bad.
Correct.
It's not great. It's not elite. It's nothing like that. But it is not that bad. That was FCS. I wouldn't even, FCS level guys. That's an insult to them. That was awful. I mean, and at some point we got to look and see. I mean, a lot of people talked about strength and conditioning and things like that. I mean, I'm watching Devin Nicholson as a linebacker just get pushed 10 yards off the ball on a run support. I mean, there's nowhere even close. He doesn't even look like he can. It looks like a running back can just go out there and block that guy easily. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are getting pushed around, and at some point in time, Eli Drinkwitz is going to have to do some soul searching and look into ways really if he's going to be successful here.
No question. I mean, how many plays? Whoever just called in, you got to turn your volume down. Thanks. How many plays did we see in the first quarter that I mean, we're talking 10, 15 yards downfield not before Missouri was in position to make the tackle, before Missouri touched them. gave up a 92-yard touchdown run. I mean, it was like you said, it's beyond any description. I don't really know what you say. It was brutal. Everything you said is 100% right, Justin.
And what, like, you heard him say, hey, we're not going to finger point. We're going to kind of stay the course. We're going to, all those things that Eli and Steve Wilson have kind of said during the week. And then as soon as Tennessee scores after that first drive, we see some 3-3-5. Like, these guys don't have – they don't even have a gauge of what you normally do. Yeah, you're going 3-3-5 with Jatori and Hansford as your middle linebacker?
So that's –
who thought that was a good idea?
Well, let's talk about that, because I do at least want to say, and I tweeted this, hey, they made an adjustment. Now, you can argue it was a terrible adjustment. It clearly didn't work. I'm not saying 3-3-5 with Jatori and Hansford at middle linebacker is the right scheme, but, like, they did do something different. It was actually even worse than what they'd done the first 4 weeks, but they did do something different, I don't know.
I mean, it's just laughable. I mean, you don't see Jatori and Hansford almost at all.
Right, he doesn't play at his natural position.
I mean, very little.
Yes.
Yes. After the first drive, now he's your starting middle line. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic of your front six. Well, because they still had 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends, and 2 linebackers.
I'm going to argue.
Almost no different.
I'm going to argue it did change the dynamic. They were worse today than they've been all season.
Yeah, you're right. It was definitely worse. What I'm getting at is, if you're going to load the box and try to do something like that, go with more defensive linemen.
5 defensive
linemen. You had 4 of them still in there. All you did was just put one in the linebacker.
You just moved it.
I mean, it didn't change anything.
All right, Justin, I appreciate it, man. I got a whole bunch of people on hold, so I'm going to move on, but thanks for the call, buddy. All right. We're staying in the 573 area code. If your number is 5485, go ahead. You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Gabe. I thought Kent Kiefer made some nice throws there in the first quarter.
Who am I talking with?
Skip Leach made a nice catch. Gary in Columbia.
Okay.
Lindsey Collins made a nice grab. This is nothing new. Mizzou, when I was growing up in the 80s, I'm not sure they won a game.
It looked like a lot of those games.
Great. Go ahead.
No, it looked like a lot of those games. You're right, because I came to some of those games, right? I started out talking.
Yeah.
It looked a little like the Norman Conquest and a little like 73-0 against A&M, and when Miami came in for homecoming. Here's the thing: those teams were actually really good teams, right? That were beating Missouri. This is like like a 6-6 Tennessee team that beat Missouri today.
Well, I mean, I could tell you in the 70s we had a lot of NFL players, and we would beat a ranked Notre Dame team and then take a dump against Butt State the next week. I mean, this is I'm just I'm okay. It's Mizzou football. That's what it is.
Yeah, today was. I mean, it was a flashback to some of those ugly games you talked about. No question, man.
It's about as ugly as I've ever seen, Gabe. And,
I think actually the comparison.
As a Mizzou fan, that's what we've seen. That we're used to it.
Yeah, I think the comparison.
It is what it is.
I think the comparison to the Skip Leach and Kent Kiefer offense is actually an insult to those guys, because those offenses actually put up some points. Today's offense,
Gabe,
this offense
I would
was
totally
not good
agree
today.
with you. That when Bill Wilkerson would call those games, he made them so exciting. That was an aerial assault. Still,
Lindsey Collins, Byron Chamberlain, Damon Mays,
Damon Mays. I loved Victor Bailey there in the 90s. Oh, we had some good players, man.
No question. Well, Gary, I appreciate the call, man.
All right, bud.
All right, thanks a lot. We're moving on. Still in the 573, 3940. Are you there? I know you've called in a few times.
Yeah, I'm here. I got cut off.
Yeah, who am I talking to?
This is Steve.
Hey, Steve. How are you, man? What's going on?
Good. A lot further, guys. Kind of stole my thunder. I mean, 3-3 defense. I mean, it's a 2-man running in the 80s. I guess my bigger concern is, I think Drinkwitz knows they suck, because I kept saying last week, well, he's setting up a short side run fading into the stone wall again and again and again. I just can't figure out what we're doing. Is he trying to run the clock because he knows we suck?
Yeah, I mean, today, I mean, by the time you looked up, it was 28-3, and everybody knew that game was over, right? I mean, yes, I think he knows the talent is down, and I think he knows they're not very good, but not to this level. Like, I forget who was saying it earlier, but the talent's not this bad. You can't explain today away by the talent and, hey, we're not good enough. I mean, they're not 38 points worse than Tennessee bad. Today was something special, and I don't use the Q word, and I'm not going to do it here, but I'm not sure how a team that I'll be interested to see what Drinkwood says after the game, because I'm not sure a team that is fully bought in and ready to go gets beat that way in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Matter didn't use the Q word, but he used the loaf word, and he shared some videos on Twitter saying, basically showing, Rakestraw just quitting.
Yeah, I saw that tweet, and that one I'm sure will be brought up in the film room and played a few times.
Well, I mean, has the guy done anything in 2 years?
He's made a few plays, but it almost, and I don't mean to like gloss over.
Is it worth going Ted Lasso and putting out a viral video over that guy?
Yeah, I don't mean to gloss over your point, but like picking out individuals who were bad in this game seems like unfair, right? Because I can't pick out individuals who are good in this game. Can you name one player? That's not true. Sean Ketting, Harrison Mevis, and Grant McInnes were good. Missouri has good kickers. Other than that, I can't pick out anybody that was good.
Yeah, I mean, just Axis and Harrison Mevis.
Yeah, the kickers were about it for the day.
All right, thanks, Dave.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate the call, Steve. Let's go. We got the 314 area code. You still on the line with me? 314, you here? Okay, we are going to move on. Let's see. Let's go back to the 573, ending in 1318. You there?
Hey, Gabe.
Hey, who am I talking with here?
This is Adam.
Hey, Adam, what's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, man.
Adam, I'm losing you here.
During the dark ages, watching some really bad Mizzou football. We're all battle-tested.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to say, after this defensive performance, I think this is right on par with maybe 2017's debut against Southwest Missouri State.
Yeah, hey, whoever just called in, please, kind of stay quiet so I can hear, if you don't mind. No, that's fair. That Missouri State game where they gave up 43, that was pretty bad. It's up there with some of those games that Missouri fans would get mad about Nebraska and Oklahoma running up the score, but really they had their third stringers in and you just still couldn't stop them. Like, it's in that conversation.
Right, but like you said a few minutes ago, obviously those were good teams. Mm-hmm. Southwest Missouri State has never been good by any measure, especially against a Division I team.
Right.
Now, the first thing I want to ask is, with all these fifth-year, super seniors, all these guys on the defensive line, can it not clearly be said that Nick Bolton is the most important defensive player in the Mizzou history, considering how much he...
Yeah, it certainly appears that way, and Adam, you're cutting in and out a little bit, but yeah, Nick Bolton apparently was like Ray Lewis times Ray Nitschke plus some Ed Reed in him. I mean, he must have just covered up so many problems last year. Either that, or every guy on Missouri's roster has gotten worse since coming back, which is discouraging.
Well, it was something like that, or... the other question I have is, can we all start a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, pass the hat to bring back Coach Cool?
I get it. I don't know that solves everything, but I do understand the sentiment. Missouri's defensive line was really good when he was here. How much of that was him, I don't know for sure, but I understand the sentiment, yeah.
Well, it couldn't hurt. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the call, man. All right. We're moving on to the 312 area code. Who's on the line from the 312? 312, you with me?
What?
Oh, okay. I think we lost you. 307, you there?
Hey, Gabe, it's Jim Bob out in Wyoming. How you doing?
Hey, Jim Bob. What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, I'm better now because it's elk hunting elk.
Jim Bob, you are really going in and out here, and I can't hear anything you're saying, man. Okay, there you are. Now I can hear you.
Sorry, Gabe. Well, just want to say thanks. I'm going elk hunting for the rest of the fall. I don't need to watch this stuff anymore. And good luck to all the deer hunters on the board.
Yeah, I got a lot of free time freed up here, and I am afraid this is I mean, look, attendance wasn't great, but it might go off the cliff here for these next few games, and that's a concern. But like, it's kind of hard to blame anybody, right?
Yeah, it's tough to want to go support the team after. I mean, I do. I also live in Wyoming, so
right.
It's a little more difficult for me to get out there. But yeah, that was kind of a brutal one. But good luck to everybody on the hunting season, and thanks for all you're doing here, Gabe.
All right, Jim Bob. Well, enjoy the elk, man. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
All right, let's go to the 206 area code. Who's here from the 206? And guys, if you're trying to call in, I'm going to get to you. We got busy phone lines. 206 area code.
Hey, it's Relay up in Seattle.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Better days. I don't want to get you number one.
Can you say that again, man? Sorry, I don't know if this is my internet or your guys' internet, but I'm having trouble here.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I just kind of want to get your take on core value number one, which is always compete. How that kind of played out today.
Yeah. Look, I always say that I refuse to just watch a game and accuse someone of quitting, right? I don't think that's fair on my part. I will be interested to see what Eli Drinkwitz says about the effort, because it is fair to question the effort after watching that game. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, if you watch that game, the first thing you have to think is, hang on, Tennessee is not 38 points better. What happened here? Was that an effort problem? And I'll be interested to see what the head coach says in regards to that.
Yeah, sure. When you look around the country at some of these different UH programs who are experiencing your success, like the Senses of the world and schools like that, I can't remember any time in Donald Swing's tenure where a team puts together this bad an effort. This is the kind of games you see FCS teams losing and Sandy losing.
Yeah.
But I think for them to talk about closing that gap in the East, I feel like this is indicative of a coaching staff that that should be talking like that if this is the kind of product that we're putting out in the field.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a fair point. Right now, we can't make the comparison can't be, has Clemson ever done anything like this? Maybe you can compare it to South Carolina, right, and try to stay ahead of them, and then try to catch Tennessee, which has absolutely run you off the field 2 years in a row. So, yeah, it's discouraging all around, no question.
Cool. Well, thanks. I really appreciate you taking my questions. I love what you're doing, and thanks again.
All right, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. We got two from the 816. If your number ends in 7884, you're up. Who's on the line?
Hey, Gabe.
Hey, who am I talking with?
You're talking with Phil.
Okay, what's up, Phil?
First of all, I wonder what would your dad / the old man write about this game?
I don't know for sure what he would write. I would imagine it's probably similar to what I've already written, and we'll post when this show is over. But I don't know for sure. I haven't talked to him about this one.
Well, Gabe, this is late 1980s, early 1990s, embarrassingly bad.
Yeah.
Horrible. But one bright spot is that we have an AD that is not beholden to anybody. And I don't think she'll stand for this. I really don't. I think I talked to so many people that are not going to come back that I sat near today. And that's sad. I will be back next week and for the season, but it's sad. It's sad. Not enough Tank 7 to get through this game. That's all I got to say.
All right, Phil. Yeah, it was rough. Appreciate the call, man. But I don't think Eli Drinkwitz is getting fired. We got one more call on the line from the 816. Who's there?
This is Bill.
Hey, Bill. How you doing, man? What's going on? What's on your mind?
Good. Okay, I was at the game today.
Okay.
And we're on the west side of the 37-yard line, so I watched the defense as they come off the field. And after the score was 21-3, the defense was done.
Yeah.
You could tell by their body language they were finished. They had no desire to do anything. And the rest of the game, you saw the result.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they hadn't really done anything before that.
I know. I'm just saying. And also, how are they going to justify keeping Wilkes when Tennessee puts up 677 yards?
Yeah, like I said, that is on the table now. Now, I don't know. I know Eli Drinkwitz certainly is going to be asked about it post-game. I don't know what he'll say. I don't think he's going to fire Steve Wilkes in the post-game. I don't think he'll probably fire him this week, but after a performance like that, it is on the table. I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And also, Gail, I was wondering why, when the score was 28-3, Missouri was finished. Why not just switch and put Tyler in there?
Yeah.
Or Brady Cook, somebody.
I agree. And now I understand why you don't do it in the first half, but in the second half, I would have played some of the backups. Tyler Beatty should have been resting. Basilak should have been resting. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I love the show. It was a tough one today.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Bill. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Gabe. All right, buddy.
All right, we'll talk to you later. All right, let's go 908. Who's on the phone?
What's up, Dave? It's Schiff. I just got done with the Nets. How you doing?
Not bad, Schiff. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm passing the San Diego St. Thomas football game right now.
Well, you're in a better place than we are here in mid-Missouri.
I would agree with that. I watched about half the game before I had to head over.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, how do you feel about Connor Bazelak's starting chances for next season? Just given, I'm not christening Sam Horn as the next Jesus or Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
But in the small sample size, Brady Cook has looked pretty good, and I don't think Bazelak has just done anything this year to solidify himself as the guy going forward. That's not to say he's been awful, but I just don't think that he's cemented his status of the job, if that's fair.
Yeah, he came into the day today 10th in the country in touchdown passes, 13th in yards. I think he's the starter this year, and I think he's the starter next year. Beyond that, I don't know. And, the offense wasn't good today, and Bazelak wasn't good today. But, again, kind of singling out any individual player is pretty difficult after that effort. Hey, whoever's on the line from the 314, I don't know if you can mute your line. I'll get to you in a minute, but there's some crazy interference. But no, Bazelak was not good today. I understand, but neither was anybody else. So let's give it the rest of the year and make a judgment then.
That's fair. I'm going to look for some Mexican food. I wasn't going to keep you long today.
All right, Schiff. Have a good one, man. Enjoy. We'll talk to you.
See you, brother.
All right, let's go 314 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hey, this is Ryan Gabe.
What's up, Ryan? How you doing, man?
Hey, obviously tough day today with the loss, just the performance of the team. The question I had for you is, obviously you have really great insights into the whole, recruiting aspect of college football. And what does a game like this do from a recruiting standpoint? Obviously, one of Drink's strong suits is being able to, recruit, high-level players. Does a game like this, put a big dent in that potential, or can he still continue to sell the program as, hey, we're turning the corner, get in here, you could play early, make an impact early, from that standpoint? Just any thoughts on that would be really helpful.
Yeah, it makes his job harder because he is not selling to these guys, look, we're going to be really good this year. But now they're not even as good as even probably the skeptics thought. Like, they're probably not making a bowl game at this point. So it does make his job a little bit harder in selling this to recruits. That doesn't mean he can't do it, but it is more difficult probably than it was 2 weeks ago, because if a kid watched this game, he's going, hang on, man, you're that far behind Tennessee. You already lost to Kentucky. How many people are going to be here next week? It makes his job harder. There's no question. And, next year he's going to have to show some progress, certainly. Now, the flip side of that is, he can get on the phone with these kids and say, hey, did you see us play last week? You probably can play here next year if you come here. So there's two ways you do it, but I'm not going to say that this cripples recruiting and that they're going to have a mass exodus, but today was bad enough that it at least does kind of make you think, hey, he's got a little tougher sales job than he had a week ago. There's no question about it.
Gotcha. Thanks for taking my call, Steve.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate the call. Let's stay in the 314. You still on the line with me?
Hey, Gabe, it's Scott. How you doing?
Not bad. What's going on, Scott? How are you?
Well, I still have beer left. So,
okay.
That's about the only positive thing I think I have going right now.
Yeah, that's good news. I mean, you're still upright.
Outside of that, I'm curious how you feel. The team that we saw play Kentucky and Boston College, I was at the Boston College game, and while the defense was bad, the attitude was still there, and they played hard, and the game, were competitive.
Yep.
And I feel like Tennessee isn't better than Kentucky or Boston College.
Oh, no, not at all.
So what did we see today? I don't even know what I saw today.
We saw a confluence of Tennessee coming out, hitting on all cylinders with something to prove, really fired up, and Mizzou with pretty much no one playing well and things going poorly. And again, I don't want to say, without hearing what Eli Drinkwitz says, that the effort wasn't there, but I understand how watching that game people do draw that conclusion, right? Because it's hard to imagine that they were given everything they had and that was the result. Because, again, there were just so many plays where, I mean, there wasn't a Missouri defender in the zip code of the Tennessee guy with the ball. And I don't know, that can't be all scheme, but it also can't be all talent, right? I mean, at its worst, Missouri's defense should not be this bad, no matter what scheme it's running. And so, I can't really explain it any better than you can. And I honestly, I doubt Eli Drinkwitz can either.
The last thing, Gabe, is, everyone's like, you can't fire a defense coordinator in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Well, you could have a grad assistant come in and do the same thing that Wilkes did today.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can scheme, 800 yards of offense and 62 points. I don't think you need to be paid $1 million in order to do that.
It takes something incredibly drastic to fire a guy who has been here for 5 games, right? But today was drastic. And like I said, I am not calling for Steve Wilkes' job, but I do think, the question's at least going to be asked. It is on the table. Hey, did you make a bad move that you have to correct here? Now, Eli can say whatever he wants at that point, and I don't, if I had to bet, I don't think he's going to fire him, but it's at least at the point, that it has to be asked.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gabe. Thanks. I'd say I'd put attendance at next week's game at about 35,000. So,
I think it'll be a little above that, but thanks, Scott. Appreciate the call, man. Let's move on to the 417 area code. Who's on the phone from 417?
Fuck.
Hey, Gabe, it's Stuart in Springfield.
What's up, Stuart? How are you, man?
Been better.
Yeah.
Man, my thoughts on the game, I found myself not even upset because I'm just used to the defense just playing piss poor. My issue today was – go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like middle second quarter, I started it was almost like a train wreck. Like, this is so bad you can't look away. And at some point you go, well, I know they're not winning, so I almost just want to see like 82 points, right? It's like when you watch your team and they're getting no hit and they're behind 11-0, you know they're going to get beat. So you almost just kind of morbidly start rooting for the no-hitter. You know, I mean, if you're going to see really bad, see historically bad.
Well, exactly. And, you know, if obviously change is needed, you know, we got our defensive players. They can't even take the correct pursuit angle. I mean, this is junior high football stuff.
Yeah, there was nothing.
Our guys are getting blown off the ball.
Yep.
Nobody's backing up the defensive line. Nobody's backing up the linebackers. I mean, 15, 20 yards before a guy gets touched on an off tackle run play is inexcusable.
And oh, by the way, they can't really cover the pass either. I mean, based on today.
Exactly. I mean, I made the comment, you know, just run a straight up 4-3, man. They beat us in the air. They beat us in the air. But they can't just beat us 15 yards off the ball every single play. It's just, I'm sick of it.
You're 100% right.
That being said, I'm going to watch every game, man. I'm going to watch every game. I'm going to root for Mizzou, man. And I appreciate you doing what you do, Gabe.
All right, I appreciate it, Stuart. Thanks, man. Let's go 573 area code ending in 46. You there?
Hey, Gabe, it's Mike again.
Hey, Mike.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, do you think we're at the point where we have questions that these blokes can teach schemes to younger athletes compared to the NFL right now? I mean, it's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you figure the NFL coach could teach a scheme and technique to college kids. I don't know if it's just he's told the NFL players knowing what to do.
Well, I think
he doesn't have to go step by step.
Hold Jacqueline can.
I think, hey, the other guys that are on the line, I need you to mute your line because your conversation's kind of going over the air here.
Right there, Ken.
Yeah, please mute your line. I think a fair question to ask about Wilkes is he coaching something that he can do with NFL level players that he can't do with the level of players he has here? I don't know. And again, there are so many problems on defense that like simply not getting blocked 6 yards off the ball should be something that college kids can handle. But I think that's definitely a question people have.
Well, and you remember old Virginia Tech defense that was very complex. His defense is not that complex. And I just don't get how bad it is right now. I mean, like the other guy said, pursuit angles, everything is just off. It's like the defense gave up and they don't believe in the defense.
It is inexplicable because the scheme can't be this bad, but also the talent isn't this bad. It's like, you're right. There's no way to understand why they're this bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Gabe. I know I said gave up last week, and as a Mizzou fan or any kind of Missouri team fan, you're just a glutton for punishment. So,
all right.
Thank you, Gabe.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Let's stay in the 573 area code. Who's there from 573?
Hey, Gabe, it's Patrick. How are you?
Not bad. What's up, Patrick?
Hey, I tell you what this reminds me of is saw the Norman Conquest, saw the debacle in A&M. Gables down Florida was 55-0. This also reminds me of Kinkle's first season, the 55-7 loss to Michigan State.
Yeah.
Which you saw that, well, he was able to turn that around. But the bad part about it is that was the end of the season and not in the middle of the season that Missouri is facing right now. Like those folks, the 3-3-5 defense, it was kind of funny. Game Day actually talked about that today, and like with these spread offenses, it makes the perfect sense. But, man, you got to have the personnel to do it. So as soon as we saw Wilkes put those out there, it's like, man, the defensive line and linebackers can't handle it when they got a 4-2 or a 4-3 even going. Now we're going to a 3-3-5. It just seems to me you almost want, especially with the quarterback challenges that Tennessee's had, make them throw the ball. Yes, the pass defense isn't your strong suit, but man, it's better than your run. So make them do that, and maybe you can come up with some turnovers to at least keep you in the game. Instead, you basically said, throw out your playbook, what you're doing, and just run the ball, which they did, and they were more than happy to do that. The whole idea did not make sense to me. Anyway, I'm beating the dead horse here. I just don't know how Wilkes said, that thought that the defensive line was the strength of the defense at the beginning of the season. I think that right there is just such a giant red flag at this point. That anybody even make that comment is beyond me. But
if the horse wasn't dead, it died middle of the first quarter today. Thanks for the call, Patrick. Appreciate it, man.
It definitely did.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. Let's go to the 312 area code. Who's there?
Hey, Big Al.
What's up, Big Al? How are you, man?
I'm good. Hey, I got to go back on Barry Odom's recruiting because I think he settled for guys that he missed. I think the defensive line, they were undersized. They weren't great athletes. Same way with the offensive line. And I think if you go back to the Arkansas game of last year and you saw when Nick Bolton got out and when they put in the subs, the second stringers in there, they didn't have the natural instincts to fill the holes and they guess like Jamal Brooks and those guys. You see it today.
Right.
They just don't have that natural instinct. And then this year you factor in that they lose four backups, linebackers to the portal, and we lost the two defensive tackles and everything else. So you're diluted. But however, if you watch the game today and you watch how like Chris Turner, God bless him for being there, but he doesn't perform or produce. But he crashes down the line and doesn't maintain the edge. And I think that's coaching. I think they're telling him to go down the line and hopefully come down the outside, but they don't have anybody on the outside to get that.
Yeah, and
I was just
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I agree that
game last week, and we talked to a couple of players that were in one of the delis after the game.
Okay.
And they just said simply Missouri wasn't that physical. They said they weren't bad, but they just weren't very physical. So I think Drinkowitz better change the tone in there and get some big beefy guys that are going to set the edge and do what they got to do, or it's going to be a bad deal for them.
Yeah, and I think, look, Odom's recruiting wasn't great. We know that. It also was not this bad, right? Like, these players were better than this last year, and they were better than this the year before. Now, they weren't maybe good enough for him to keep his job, and the recruiting needed to be better, but the talent gap between Missouri and Tennessee isn't this big. It just isn't. And this is the first week we've seen, like the Kentucky game. Hey, Kentucky's a better team. They won by a score. Fine. Boston College, they won in overtime. But those are similar teams. That's fine. Today, these were evenly matched teams, and one of them looked like they didn't belong on the field with the other one. And so that's not all recruiting. That's just, I don't know. There's more to it than that, and I don't have the answer. But yeah, I agree with you, Al.
Well, the defense better figure it out, because if not, they look like they were done today, honestly.
Yeah,
and
I
hate
agree.
to say that.
Agreed. All right, buddy. Appreciate the call.
Thanks, Gabe.
All right, let's move to the 719 area code. Who's there?
John, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Hey, whoever's on the line, like, you got to mute your line. I got kids screaming in the background. This is brutal. Okay, go ahead, man. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Just a few observations here. I think in all my years, as a Mizzou fan, this was probably the first time when I'm watching a game where you just knew that the defense just could not stop anybody. I mean, it put so much pressure on our offense. I mean, it seems our offense has to score 75 points, to kind of even stick with the game, to no effort. I mean, I don't remember if it was 14-3 or 21-3 on that screen pass on 3rd and 12 where, I mean, there's
I think that made it 28-3.
I don't know who number 2. I'm sorry?
I think that one was the one that made it 28-3, yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't remember who. I think it was number 2, just kind of lackadaisical. I mean, I don't know if it's just kind of demoralizing. They just kind of gave up. I just don't know where they go from here. Just put so much pressure on the offense. I'm not saying our offense are world beaters, but they've, pretty much got the job done when they had to, but I just don't know where it's just the worst defense I've seen, in a long, long time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't know how they got this bad, and I don't know what the answer is either. I am reading Mitchell Forty's post right now. He asked asked Eli Drinkwitz after the game if he would consider making a change at defensive coordinator. Drinkwitz said he just stepped off the field, so that's not something he considered. Then said no comment. So, obviously,
Right.
but you're 100% right. Like we've talked it 100 ways, and there's no way they're this bad. There's no way the scheme is this broken. There's no way the talent is this bad. There's no way to explain that defensive performance today. And the offense wasn't great. Don't get me wrong. The offense had plenty of problems today, but it's not even worth talking about because you let the other team score on 10 of their 11 drives. So
Brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal. And last thing before I hang up here, it's just, I wouldn't say I would feel better, but it just seemed like there's a lot of missed gaps. I'm not Daniel Jeremiah. I'm not a scout, but it's just, just looking at it, people get blown off the ball, just missed assignments, not gap sounding. If there were just missed tackles, you would say, oh man, these, we need to, work on some tackling. But man, these last, especially this game, but his last 3 weeks, it just seems like just like you said earlier, they're 15, 20 yards down the field before someone's even near them.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know how any opponent from any week on, just if they pass the ball, they should be checked, mentally. I mean, I would just run the ball every single play against Missouri until you could stop me.
I agree. The scary part is the Boston College game is probably Missouri's second best defensive performance of the year, and they gave up 41 points.
Brutal.
I mean, so, yep. Well, I appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot. All right.
Appreciate it.
Let's go 636 area code. You still with me?
Yeah.
Who am I talking to?
This is Rob.
What's up, Rob? How you doing, man?
Good. Well, not really.
Right.
After watching the Kentucky and Boston College games, I mean, I felt bad after those games. Those were heartbreakers. And after watching today, it was just, I don't know, it was just whatever. Like,
it was numb.
They didn't give an effort.
Yep.
So, yeah. How I don't know what you say about this, but how about Konzo coaches this defense?
I mean, here I always joke with people. Here's what being a Mizzou fan is, right? Is you're always more fired up for the next season, right? So it's in the offseason, like all spring, it's I can't wait for football season. Football season's going to be amazing, blah blah. Then like 4 weeks into football season, it's oh man, I can't wait. So football, I'm done with that. Can't wait till basketball. And then we're going to get to like January 12th and people are going to be like, I'm done with basketball. Can't wait till football, right? It just keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, because I'm actually more of a basketball guy than a football guy, actually. But I mean, so let's say they beat North Texas and they beat Vanderbilt and maybe South Carolina. That'll get you to 5 wins.
Right.
I think their best chance out of A&M, Florida, or Arkansas might be A&M. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
win that one. I don't know.
I think it might, out of those three, the best chance might be A&M since Arkansas just beat A&M, and A&M is really bad offensively. Now, look, they're better than SEMO offensively, I think. But, I mean, 6 wins is not off the table because you can beat A&M and you could beat Arkansas, but also 4 wins is not off the table because you show up with that effort and you're not beating South Carolina. Honestly, you show up with that effort, I'm not sure you're beating North Texas, to be quite honest. So it's they're in a bad spot, man. They need a win next week. However they get it, it would be great to get it and have the defense actually look competent. But I mean, we are.
Yeah.
It's no longer early, right? Next week is the halfway point of the season. And Missouri, I haven't done the math yet, but Missouri may now be giving up 300 yards a game rushing.
Yeah. And would you say the main thing right now for this season is just to keep most of the recruiting class intact?
Yeah. I think it's 2 things. I think it's don't ruin the confidence of some of the guys that are going to be the foundation of this thing going forward, and keep just keep your recruiting on board. Bring in a top 25 class, because if you can do that, now you've got 2 in a row. And look, I'm going to be very honest. Next year, we don't have any talent. That's not okay. That's not an argument next year, because you'll have 2 top 25 recruiting classes, and they're your guys. And the last guy didn't leave me anything isn't going to work next year. There's still a little bit to it this year, certainly, but next year that's not going to be the argument. So, yeah, I think it's keeping the young guys bought in and the recruits on board.
Yeah, long way to go. Thanks, kid.
Yep, thanks, Rob. Appreciate the call, man. Let's go back to the 573 area code. Who's there?
Hey, Gabe. This is Mike. One of the things I was thinking about is, I mean, what did Wilkes sell for Eli to hire him? I mean, there has to be some blame on Eli on this. I mean,
yeah, 100%.
Do we need to start questioning, like, does he just need to run the offense? Does he need to be more control on the defense? You know, I know that's one of the things that we blamed Odom for was, well, he should have been more part of the defense, and because he was the defensive guy. Now it's, you know, back to the opposite. Well, maybe Eli should not do so much on offense. He's more of a, I don't know how much control does he have on the defense. You know, when it comes to, he should have all the say because he's the head coach. It's kind of question, like, you know, is it the management style? I mean, it's not like, look at the beginning of the year, it's like, well, maybe we're not that good, and just kind of does a really good sales pitch to bring people in and get recruits in. And I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a lot of blame on Eli on this, and I feel like it's kind of scapegoated too a little bit on the defense coordinator.
Yeah, well, the truth is, first of all, Barry Odom got fired mostly because he hired the wrong coordinator, right? But Odom was a defensive guy, and he didn't have much to do with the offense. He was basically hired an offensive coordinator to be the head coach of the offense. And when that was Josh Heupel, that was fine. When it was Derek Dooley, it went south in a hurry. And that is ultimately, that and Dooley not being able to fix Kelly Bryant is ultimately what got Odom fired. So now you've got the reverse situation. You've got a guy who's all offense, and like he doesn't sit in on the defensive meetings. He has hired Steve Wilkes to basically be the head coach of the defense. And he is now responsible for that. I mean, he's the head coach, so he's responsible for that side of the ball. So, yes, you can fire Steve Wilkes if it's not good enough if you want to, but that's his guy. Ryan Walters was never his guy, and we always knew that wasn't going to last, and it didn't. It lasted 1 year, and they parted ways, and he didn't fight to keep him. This is his guy. This is his hand-picked guy. If he has to fire him half a season in, that's on Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, sure, it's on Steve Wilkes, but that is Eli Drinkwitz admitting I failed if he fires Steve Wilkes. So it's 100% on him. Now, that doesn't mean he loses his job for it, because the way it always works is, hey, coordinators get fired first. But if let's say, just for argument's sake, he were to fire Wilkes and bring in another defensive coordinator, if that one didn't work, he doesn't get to fire him and bring in a new one. He's gone then, because this is his guy. And, okay, if you reach a conclusion it didn't work, you get one get-out-of-jail-free card, but you're not going to get another one.
Thanks, Dave. And I guess that's the difference between the Sabans of the world and the other coaches. So I appreciate it, Gabe. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Appreciate the call, man. And appreciate all you guys who have called in. I mean, we've gone a solid hour here with calls pretty much just back to back to back. We do have the line open right now. If anybody does want to call in, please feel more than welcome to 573-234-4935. I want to take a quick minute to remind you this is brought to you by the Boulevard Brewing Company. It's the post-game drink. Every week we take your calls and air your grievances and all that about Mizzou football. Boulevard makes it possible. Hopefully some of you out there have consumed some Boulevard products today. We'll sit and watch some other games and consume some more. This team's probably driving a lot of you to drink, whether you go out and you get some of their beer, whether you go with the fling cocktails, whether you go with the Quark seltzer. You know, that'll all work. Whatever you want. That is fantastic. So you can do that. Do we still have somebody on the line from the 573?
Yeah, we do. We got Richard and Mike here from Como.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Not bad. So what's on your mind?
how come the whole fan base hates Barry Odom so much? He was a fine coach. He's winning 6, 7, 8 games a year. You know, why do you have to get rid of him so fast?
I thought there was an argument to be made that Barry Odom could have been kept. I mean, he wasn't good, but he wasn't awful, right? He was a 500 coach. He was okay. Now, the way things started out with Drinkwitz's recruiting, Barry's recruiting wasn't great. I don't think he had a very good relationship with Jim Sturk, but there is a little too much now of this is all Barry Odom's fault. Barry Odom's talent was not this good. You can't both be on the side of, Barry Odom should have won 10 games in 2019, and Barry Odom left us such trash that you can lose 62-24 to Tennessee, and it's not your fault. You can't reconcile both of those statements. So I'm not going to make an argument that Barry should have been here. I'm not even going to make an argument that Drinkwitz isn't a step up. He looks like he has been, but the honeymoon ended today, and this is the column I wrote, and it's not posted yet. It's going to post after this show. The honeymoon ended today. The equity, all the goodwill, a lot of that went out the window because Missouri's not this bad.
Yeah, we got two more things for you here. The first being, do people forget about 2015, how bad Mizzou football, how bad a place it was in?
Yeah.
And I think back from that, we got to realize, it's like the Kim Anderson years. Conzo gets a long leash because it was such a bad place.
Right. Yeah.
And then also,
go ahead.
Drinkwitz paying players.
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, man. I mean, who knows? I never say never in college sports, but I sure don't know anything about it. All right, guys. I appreciate the call. Thanks a lot. Let's move on now to the 618 area code. Who's on the line?
Hey, Gabe.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, listen, I just tuned in. Thanks for. I love this forum. I really appreciate it. But I just tuned in, so maybe you've already addressed this. But I'm thinking, if Mizzou, let's just say they lose the rest of their games except for Vandy and North Texas, and let's say they split they split those.
Okay.
So the final count is 3-9.
Yep.
Does Drinkwitz, just like Chad Morris, where the wheels completely came off the bus for Arkansas, does Drinkwitz lose the job at that point?
No, not unless there's NCAA violations or something. I mean, he's going to have a second top 25 recruiting class probably. No, he's not losing his job this year. I'd be stunned.
All right, thanks, Gabe. I keep thinking of Chad Morris and thinking how things really fell apart in Arkansas.
Yeah, but Chad Morris, I think, went 1-11. Which I understand what you're saying, but no, I don't think that would be the case.
All right, thanks, Gabe.
All right, have a good one. Let's move back to the 573. Who's there?
Hey, Gabe, it's Davin.
What's up, Davin? How you doing, man?
Sometimes.
Fighting through, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so I'll admit I wasn't on the board a whole bunch last week, so maybe y'all talked about it, because after the Boston College game, I didn't want to pay a whole lot of attention for a little bit.
Right.
But I was sitting in the stands today, and Relis George Jr. was sitting right down in front of me. And I'm pretty sure he was still on the roster. He looks like he's still on the roster.
Yeah, I guess now that you mention, I didn't really see him play. That's interesting.
He couldn't have, because he was sitting in shorts and a sweatshirt, just right down next to me. So I don't know what's going on. I kind of said something as we left, and I said, "Are you Relis George Jr.?" He's like, "Yeah." Oh, okay. Well, hey man, I'm glad you're here. He followed me out and he goes, "Dude, I'm sorry about this game. I apologize."
Interesting.
You're not out there, but I was just totally lost.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I'm texting Mitchell. He's over in the press box. Maybe he'll be able to get some answers on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I wanted.
All right, Davin.
I understand everybody's upset.
Yeah.
Still be at the game next week. I don't know. It's not a whole lot of fun to watch, maybe, but maybe it'll get better too. I don't know.
Can't get worse, right?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the call. We'll talk to you. Let's go to the 303 area code. Who am I talking to?
Are you talking to Greg?
What's up, Greg? How are you, man?
Hey, pretty good, pretty good. Hey, I was trying to see, I know recruits are coming to the games, and also Luther Burden, I guess, is supposed to be coming next week and everything. You see what happened today, and what do you think, like, these recruits are thinking other than, I get immediate playing time, but some of these schools we're going up against to get these kids are having some of the same issues we have, and now Drinkwitz is forced with an issue on some of these defensive kids that he might have to make a defensive coordinator change.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the message you're selling to recruits is, hey, we need help. We need you to get better, right? You're not. With Luther Burden specifically, and I've said this a number of times in the last 2 weeks, if he's judging it on where am I going to win the most games, well, he's not coming to Missouri. Georgia's the best team in the country. If it's just, hey, can I win a national title? Well, Missouri's got no chance to get him. But obviously there's more to it than that. Every individual kid has different reasons that he makes a decision, right? Does today make recruiting tougher? Yes, it does. There's no question. He's got to be a little bit better salesman. But he's got to know every kid he's recruiting and what the message needs to be to him, and he's got to tailor it to that kid to get more talent. And for some kids, it will be as simple as, hey, watch that game, man. We need help on defense. If you play defense, you might get on the field next year, But, yeah, it's tougher, no question, to recruit than it was before this game.
Got you, Gabe. And do you think Eli needs to go and attend more on the defensive side of meetings and practices and everything like that, just to try to get this fixed so his job is not in jeopardy and he's on the hot seat?
No, he's an offensive guy. Now, I'm not saying Eli doesn't understand defense, but Steve Wilkes has been an NFL defensive coordinator and an NFL head coach. I don't know if Eli can go in those meetings and give him a scheme that, and show, maybe he can. And look, yeah, Eli's got to, this ultimately is going to end up falling on him. So if he thinks, hey, I got to spend more time with the defense, then so be it. But that is, ultimately he has hired Steve Wilkes to run the side of the ball that he is less familiar with. And if Steve Wilkes doesn't work out, then, that comes back on him, at some point. But I don't know if he's like a guy that can necessarily go in and fix it. He's been on the offensive side of the football legitimately his entire career.
Makes sense, Gabe. I appreciate it. MIZ.
All right. Thanks a lot, Greg. Appreciate the call, man. Phone line is now clear. Made it through another round of calls there. So if you want to call in, you can. Like I said at the beginning of this, it was either going to be the busiest post-game show we've had or one that was completely dead. It's leaned a little bit more toward the busy, and that's great. I appreciate it. I like all the comments, all the calls. Everybody wants to break this down. There have been some different viewpoints. The basic thing has kind of been the same, like, what in the hell happened? And there isn't really an answer. I don't know what happened. There's no explanation for that game. Missouri doesn't have a ton of talent, but it has more than that. Missouri might need a better defensive scheme, but the scheme can't explain, just legitimately not touching guys on 92 yards runs, not even being close. If Eli Drinkwitz would have sat down, if you would have talked to him last night and said, give me the worst possible case scenario tomorrow in which nobody gets hurt, what's the worst possible case scenario? I don't think he could have described this. There is zero chance anybody saw this coming. It doesn't shock me that Missouri lost this game. It shocks me that it was 28-3 after a quarter and, frankly, got no closer from there. I don't know, guys. I don't know how you explain it. We will eventually have video of Drinkwitz's press conference on the site. Again, I come straight here after the game, so I don't watch Drinkwitz's press conference. Mitchell was there. He's writing about it. He will have comments. I did pass on the note about Steve Wilkes where basically he just said, I just got off the field. I'm not going to comment on Steve Wilkes and whether I'll make a change, but I don't – there's no real explanation, guys. They are far worse than anybody could have thought. And lost in this is that the offense was not good either today. Connor Bazelak threw 2 interceptions and easily could have had 4. Tennessee basically said, we are not going to let Tyler Beatty beat us. Beatty had 21 carries for 41 yards and 3 catches for 27. So he had 24 touches for 68 yards. And Missouri didn't have anybody else that could beat him. Let's go over to the 660 area code. Who's on the phone? You there? 660 area code. What's up? All right. I don't know. They do not appear to be there, I guess. So appreciate it. Not sure. Can't hear you, but feel free to call back at some point if you want to. But again, Missouri said Tyler Beatty's not going to beat us. Or I'm sorry, Tennessee said Tyler Beatty's not going to beat us. Missouri had nobody else who could. So I do not want to excuse the offense from this discussion. It's just that we've seen the offense have some capability of being good. 660 area code. I got you. Are you there?
Yeah, hi, Dan. This is Chris again. Sorry for the drop.
No, you're good. What's up, Chris?
Operator on my side. An observation and then a question. I actually watched the halftime interview that the sideline reporter did with Josh Heupel, and he made the comment that the 3-3-5 scheme caught the coaching staff at Tennessee completely by surprise, and it was basically they were trying to figure out in real time what to do. He said that his offensive line players figured it out for themselves and communicated and solved the problem in real time.
Okay.
And I thought that was really fascinating because that goes to the kind of process that they have at Tennessee. And then I'm going to connect that with something that Andy Reid said on a YouTube video a week or two ago. He was doing a session with the head soccer coach of Bayern Munich, and they were doing a comparison and contrast with American football versus soccer. And Andy made the point that the thing that he spends the most time doing is educating players. I mean, that they're really teachers. And so I wonder if there's, something to be said for a different set of processes that might help us out. And then the other comment I'll make, and I think other people have touched on this too, what apparently was some lack of effort. I wonder if there isn't some issue in the locker room that nobody's aware of.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all I got.
Yeah, and Chris, I appreciate the call, man. And like I've said a few times, I don't ever want to accuse anybody of not trying without having more information.
Right.
But when you watch that game, like, it's something just beyond the difference between Tennessee and Mizzou. Like, Tennessee is not 38 points better than Mizzou on the football field, right? And their coaches are not that much better than Missouri's coaches. So it's fair to ask. I don't know the answer. I don't know if we'll get the answer, but I understand why people think that. Yep. So, all right, man. I appreciate the call, Chris. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Take care, man. Bye.
All right. Have a good day. All right. I'm a little bit worried about what will happen here. Okay. We had a call from Anonymous. It is dropped now. So I was a little bit concerned about what might happen, but it went away. So no worries. We're set. Feel free to call in if you want to, whether you're anonymous or whether you are a known person in commodity. SBF Aviation here has chipped in a super chat to add to the Fix the Defense fund, so certainly appreciate that. If you guys want to contribute to that fund, I'm not going to promise to actually pass that money on to said fund, but hey, we always do appreciate any acknowledgement of what we're doing here and all that. So SBF Aviation, thanks for being a part of it and for the little tip there, and much appreciated. So, look, guys, we've been going for hour and a half. We haven't solved anything. We're not going to solve anything here because that game is it's baffling to me. How does that happen? Like, the first 2 losses this year, I understand they were frustrating and all that. Okay, we've got Anonymous, so let's see what happens. All right, I've got Anonymous on the line. I'm a little concerned about this. Who's on the phone?
Hey, you there? This is there?
Yeah, I'm here. Who am I talking to?
You're speaking to Alan, man. I got a question about Drink and the offense, and I want people to really think about this. His offense that he is running is working against his defense. His defense is bad, So the cure to that is to keep them off the field as much as possible, which means you need to play a ball control offense. And he's coming out in the 5 spread with Basilak as if he's the cream of the crop with his decision-making. And then if I'm looking at the roster, I think he got Beatty, and then they have a power back, and I forgot that guy's name that they keep talking about.
Michael Cox.
And then, he's not getting any touches, whether it's him or Beatty. When Beatty was running the ball today, it looked solid. And they're not running the ball, and we're getting beat by teams doing exactly that. Football is kind of fundamental, and I think that he's caught up in his scheme, and he's working against his defense because and they ran a 3-down lineman. They had 3 down linemen the whole first half. They come out in the third quarter and have 4 down linemen, and they score way less points. It took them the whole half to make that change. So that's my thoughts. What do you guys think about his offensive scheme working against his defense? I know the defense is bad, but Drink's not helping him with those play calls.
Yeah, it's fair. I do not like the disparity between the pass and the run. Missouri is throwing the ball about 60% of the time, and that's too. It was 58% today. They had 44, or before today, they had 44 passes and 30 runs. That's too much passing. That said, it is a short passing game. I mean, it's a game it's a passing game that's based on completions and keeping the clock running. I agree you'd like to see a little bit more running, but you said when Beatty was effective today, I mean, he had 41 yards on 21 carries, and 15 of those came on 1 carry. The rest of his carries today were 20 carries for 26 yards. You know, there wasn't a lot of effectiveness there. Now, I do agree with, where's Michael Cox? We keep hearing about him. He can't get on the field. Elijah Young, 3 carries. B.J. Harris, 1 carry. Dawson Downing, 1 carry. Where's everybody else? The offense doesn't get a pass here. It's just that the defense is so bad that I don't know how you fix. We almost can't focus on the offense because the defense is so bad. It wrecks. It doesn't matter if the offense would be better. It wouldn't help. But it's a fair point, Al. The offense is not perfect. They do not escape blame here. It's just that the defense has been so bad that I don't know. We can't even almost talk about anything else, right? But good points, Al. And as far as the switch from the 3-3-5 to the 4-man front and the 4-man front being better in the second half, there's only one reason that the defense was better in the second half. Whatever they ran was going to be better in the second half because the game was over, and Tennessee knew the game was over, and Tennessee was kind of taking it easy in the second half, to be honest. Josh Heupel, he could have scored 80 in that game. I don't think there's any question. I don't think Missouri gets credit for the second half defensively, really. I think Tennessee gets credit for not making it as ugly as they could have in the second half. So appreciate the call, Al. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Appreciate all you guys being a part of the show. While you're here, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Look, there's obviously still a lot of passion, and a lot of people are interested in this team and want to follow this team, and you guys all want them to be better and all that. So, we're here, and we're going to do this after every game this week. Now, certainly after every game this year, I should say. You hope that there will be some happier calls at some point in future weeks, but do appreciate all the participation today, and appreciate you guys being a part of it. Appreciate Boulevard Brewing Company for being our presenting sponsor on this show every week. And look, a couple more minutes while I'm winding down. If you guys do have other calls, feel free to call in. I'm going to just kind of take another look real quick at the stats and kind of show you where things stand or where things stood today. Once again, Tennessee 677 total yards. They ran for 452. All right, let's go back to the phone line real quick to the 206 area code. Who's on the phone?
This is P-Duff.
P-Duff, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, been better this morning. Listening to the callers, I'm pretty impressed with the callers and the level-headedness of everyone that's been calling in. I kind of thought that this morning watching the game. It was 9 o'clock here when it came on in Seattle.
Right.
It was like surreal. like I woke up and I'm like, am I dreaming this?
Right, because it was over in like 8 minutes.
It was real. I was there through the Stoll years, and I was like, this is that.
Yep.
But I am definitely not a fire the coach guy. But and I don't even know how that would work. I don't think Drinkwitz is going to get fired at all. But if you're Drinkwitz, I know I've been listening to everybody that's been calling in about Wilkes. At this point, it's like, what can you do to, kind of not save the season per se, but save the recruiting class, and what's the call for Wilkes in terms of, do you keep him to save the recruiting class? Do you fire him? Who takes over the job at the end of the season, after firing a coach 5 games in? Yeah. I'm obviously not offering any solutions, but one thing I appreciate with you, Gabe, is you always seem to take a very reasoned approach. I'm asking what if you were just given the golden key to make your decisions, what would you do? And I'll listen off air.
Appreciate it,
Hopefully
Pete.
I'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, man. Look, I don't. You're asking me what I do. I don't see what firing Steve Wilkes this week does. I don't see what firing him mid-season does. This is your offensive coordinator. You've hired him. You give him the year. Now, if he gets no better, he gets no better, but you give him the year. But here's the one thing I would do. I would go into the meeting rooms tomorrow, and I would say there are no starters on this team. We're going to go into practice, and the guys on defense that have the best 4 days of practice are starting next week against North Texas. And if that means I start 11 true freshmen, that means I start 11 true freshmen, because the guys on that field are not getting the job done. I would absolutely open up every single job for competition this week in practice, and I wouldn't be worried about red shirts or any of that. I would 100% just open everything up and say, all right, man, hey, if you're better in practice this week, you're playing. And I'd see where that takes me, because what they've done so far is not working. Let's go to the 479 area code next. Who's on the phone?
Hey, it's Matt.
What's up, Matt? How you doing, man?
Doing okay. But realistically, what should we expect the rest of the year? Like, what should be our win total?
Well,
not gonna be high.
No, I think certainly you ought to beat North Texas and Vanderbilt still. Like, they're really bad, and I think this was Missouri's worst game. I don't think we see Missouri this bad again. So they should beat North Texas and Vanderbilt, and then you ought to beat South Carolina, I would think. It's not a given, but if I'm picking the final record today, I'm probably picking 5-7.
I would think, but even Vanderbilt and South Carolina, it's just...
Now, Vanderbilt's pretty bad, man.
It's just, not sure.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Now, Missouri was awful today, but again, we're judging Missouri an hour after the worst game they can. I don't know how Missouri could be worse than they were today. I can't imagine we're going to see them that bad again, right? Like, I'm not saying they're going to be great, but I can't imagine we're going to see that again. So I think you beat North Texas. I think you beat Vandy. I think you beat South Carolina maybe. But, yeah, I think we're probably looking at 5-7.
A little worried, man. I'm worried.
Understood.
It might be rough. North Texas has risen up before. They beat Arkansas. They might be less. Never know.
Yeah, it's not impossible, man. It's not impossible. I mean, after today, there's no sure thing left on the schedule. No question. You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Matt. I appreciate the call, man. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Let's go. Let's go next to the 314 area code. Who's on the line from the 314?
Yeah, this is Brooks.
What's up, Brooks? How you doing, man?
Doing okay. Hey, Drink's in year 2.
Yep.
But then you got beat by Heifel, who is in year 1.
Yep.
Who lost transfer after transfer. Is ever Drink messed up not getting the transfers in, and they got the transfers in?
I mean, I don't know. Again,
I'm looking at the depth for next year on deep tackle. It's bare. It's bare.
Yeah. I mean, I think the hope is that these young guys, that are coming up, that they can play pretty soon and be an improvement. I mean, I don't know how you get worse than today, right? This has to be rock bottom. If this is not rock bottom, we got some issues, certainly. But there's nothing you can do other than, hey, keep recruiting and try your guys, and if you got to make a change, you got to make a change. I mean, the only reason I have no answers because I don't know how anybody has an answer after watching that game, to be quite honest. I mean, it just was.
Well, you lost two D linemen to Arkansas this past year. They're flourishing. Williams was defensive line player of the week.
Yeah, that made last week tougher. And look, I understand why Missouri fans are looking and going, hang on, Arkansas was in the top 10. They won't be tomorrow, but Arkansas was in the top 10 with the second-year coach, and Tennessee just came in here and whipped us with the first-year head coach. What's going wrong? I understand all those questions. Like I tweeted out in the first quarter, and like I said at the beginning of this show, all your takes, all your opinions, they're all fair today. There is nothing that is too strong to be said after that game. I understand all of it. There aren't answers for it, and whatever answers there aren't going to make anybody happy. But yeah, it's a bad day, man, and you just got to hope it's the worst one.
Well, I just don't see that he's got the horses on the defensive line for next year coming in. I mean, he's got Grayshaw, but I mean, he hasn't signed on the dotted line yet. He's made his oral commitment, but that's not binding. He sure would look good today, but I don't know if he's going to be here tomorrow.
The hope is that Jeff Coat and McGuire are better next year, that Mekhi Wingo is better, that Kyron Montgomery is healthy, and it's a lot of ifs, but yeah, no sure thing, certainly.
Yeah. Well, Hansford hadn't had a snap pretty much all year, and then you tried him out there starting, and then 3-3-5.
Then he was the starting middle linebacker. Totally agree, man. Bizarre. Didn't work.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe.
All right, Brooks. Have a good one, man. Let's go 303 area code. Who's there?
Oh, this is Greg again. Gabe, how you doing?
Not bad. What's up, Greg? How are you, man?
Hey, pretty good. Hey, I was thinking too. My other question that I left off was, I know at quarterback, Connor's doing fine statistically. He's doing good, but the three teams we lost to have all done very good on RPOs, and they've had a scrambling quarterback.
Right.
And Drinkwitz brought in Macon. He got Brady Cook. I mean, when is he going to start to realize his offense is probably going to be more dynamic with a more mobile quarterback? Because Basilek's having problems being mobile and throwing the deep ball. I mean, he threw a floater and almost got Dove killed today. He threw a run across the bow to Chisholm, and Chisholm damn near got knocked out. I mean, it's been it looks like every game other than the first two, he's looked more timid out there, and he's starting to go a lot longer through his reads.
Yeah, Connor wasn't good today, certainly. He could add 2 more interceptions than he did. But again, like I've said a few times today, picking out individual guys who weren't good seems unfair because none of them were actually good. If I'm going through the list of problems with this team, Connor Bazelak is not in the top 10. Now, does that mean he is an all-SEC, put a team on his back quarterback? No, it doesn't mean that. I don't think he is that. But I don't know that making a move to Brady Cook or Tyler Macon this year really does anything for you. I don't know what that changes, to be quite honest. I think you give everybody a full offseason, and I don't know, maybe Bazelak isn't your guaranteed starter next year, but I think I've seen enough to think he's the best quarterback on the team this year, and you just got to kind of do what he does best and see what you can get done with it.
Gotcha, Gabe. Thanks for your opinion.
All right, Greg. I appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot. And look, I do have to give you guys credit, and it's probably a little bit easier on a day like today than it was on a day like last Saturday that comes down to one play. I mean, that game was over in the first quarter. It was legitimately over 11 minutes into the game. So you've had some time to process it. But look, I mean, there hadn't been a bunch of idiocy and craziness and just out of control. I mean, we did have an F-bomb on the first call, so I enjoyed that. That was cool. But, I think everybody has had pretty well thought out points, and again, they're all fair. After a game like today, nothing is too strong. This was it's up there with. I think the best comparison might have been, and I can't remember who said it, but the 55-7 game against Michigan State. That might have been the best comparison for this game. Let's go 417. Who's on the phone?
Hey, Gabe, it's Tucker from.
What's up, Tucker? How you doing, man?
Not bad. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Well, I called last week, and it's kind of the same thing again. Like today, I mean, I get it. Like it was just, it's terrible. Like the defense was just awful. There's nothing you can do with that, and the offense wasn't very good either. But like, I don't know. I'm just more concerned with the fact that the offense, which Drink is an offensive guy, seems to have gotten stale. And I know before you say anything like that, I'm not trying to blame the offensive side of the ball because nothing matters until the defense gets fixed. But like, it just seems like I thought Drink. I knew he ran the ball when he came here. I knew his offense wasn't like Heupel, the Baylor offense. I knew it wasn't that fast, but I thought it was like an aggressive downfield offense, and that they'd be going for it on fourth down. They'd be pushing tempo and stuff. Yeah. And I just feel like the offense has gotten stale.
I understand that point of view. I don't know if he thinks he has the guys to do what he wants to do, maybe. Again, I know I keep hammering on this point. I'm a little concerned that he obviously doesn't trust anybody in the backfield except for Tyler Beatty,
Yeah.
But I think, and look, I'm not going to pretend to have studied a whole bunch of App State tape or anything, or NC State tape even, but I think maybe the lateral stuff and the quick stuff and the side-to-side stuff is a little more of his offense than people want to believe it is than it is this vertical offense. I'm not sure that's true.
Okay, but, like, at some point, like, when you realize your defense isn't just bad, but it's, like, horrendous. It's wretched. Like, don't you, like, become more aggressive? And I don't mean, like, change everything that you do, but, like, like running the ball on 2nd and 9 when you've got this, and not going for it on more fourth downs. And again, there weren't like any 4th and 1 today. I get that, but like, I mean, hell, even 4th and 8. Like, what could be worse? Like, I know he's trying to. I know he's looking at the long-term picture, but like the defense he has. If I were Drake, I'd be calling plays as if my defense was horrendous, because it is.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And look, if you punt at this point, it's like saying we're minimum going to give you 3 points. I mean, legitimately the only time Missouri stopped Tennessee today, I thought it should have been a touchdown. Like, I thought they got the review wrong and the kid scored. And that's the only time they kept Missouri out of the end zone, or kept Tennessee out of the end zone. So you're right. I mean, I do think you have to change what you do offensively. Punting, like Grant McInnes, thanks for coming along, man. You can hold, but we can't punt the ball anymore because it's like giving up 4.5 points every time we do. So,
and then at some point, hopefully, like the defense gets better. Whether this year, doubtful, but if it does, great. Or next year, then of course you change a little bit. But like, I don't understand like why we aren't more aggressive when the defense is historically bad.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, man. That's a fair point. I agree with you. So,
thanks for taking my call again, Gabe. I'll let you go.
All right, Tucker, have a good one. We got 2 more on the line here. We're going to start in the 573. Who's in the 573 area code? 573, you with me? All right, nobody there. 816 area code, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Gabe.
Who am I talking to?
Yeah, this is Rex.
What's up, Rex? How are you?
I'll make it quick. Okay. I'm probably quite a bit older than most of your callers, but the defense, these players we have on defense weren't the greatest last year or the year before.
Right.
But this year, that defensive coordinator has something to do with this. And, I mean, sometimes you just gotta, I'm older and this hanging on when it's staring you in the face, but they didn't play this bad
the
last couple of years.
You're right. And like we've said today, The talent's an issue, but it's not the only issue because they were better than this last year. You're right, man. You're right.
And stuff, but I'll let you go.
All right,
I appreciate talking to you.
Appreciate the call, man.
Okay.
And look, Rex is where we're all at today. There aren't answers. We don't know. I mean, you can't watch that game and be able to explain it. You just hope it doesn't get any worse than that. That's all I can say. Mitchell's gonna have some stuff on the site. I'm gonna have a column on the site. I appreciate all you guys that hung out here and kind of stuck with us, and we talked everything out, and we solved nothing. There are no answers for today. Who knows? Next week can't be worse. Never say it can't be worse. Buddy Bell. I don't know, guys, but you got to hope this is rock bottom. You're either going to look back in a couple years and say, hey, remember the day we turned the corner? Or you're going to look back in a couple years and say, hey, remember the day we knew it wouldn't work? Today is one of those two things. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of those two things. So we'll be back next Saturday and, hey, give it another shot. Like Missouri, like I assume at this point Steve Wilkes, like Eli Drinkwitz, all that. So thanks for being with us. One more shout out to Boulevard Brewing Company. If you haven't been drinking Boulevard all day, it's only 4 o'clock, guys. There's half of the afternoon games and all of the night games left. Go get yourself some Boulevard. Hang out. Have a good day of college football. And appreciate you guys being a part of it. On the way out, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And we'll catch you next week. This has been the Boulevard Brewing Company post-game drink. Stay tuned to PowerMizzou.com for continuing coverage.